Yeah.
Make him keep.
I forgot to ask the last question on the questions. So, why did Jesus leave? Because he knew it wasn't his time to be king. So he fled because they were. That's it. Okay, close enough. Okay, so we're going to start talking about this. I'm okay. So in John 6:1 we see again after this. I'm going to read it in just a little bit, and the curriculum is going to talk about things that happened in the meantime, because there's a gap obviously there, and what happened in between. I'm not because John doesn't mention anything in between that happened in between. Then from the the woman at the well, the man at the pool of Bethesda. And this, we don't know how long it was, and they say it was a year because they believe that unnamed feast is Passover, but we don't know that for sure. So it could be less than a year, but it's some sort of indeterminate time, which is what I've told you when it says after this. And they talk about what happened in that gap, and they get that from between John 5 and John 6. They get that from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And these things may have happened in between those times, but they might have happened just before or just after. But these are other things Jesus did. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. And at the feeding of the 5,000, it says that the Passover was at hand. So that the Passover was near. It's just before. It's kind of like Christmas is at hand, right? We're in Christmas season, but it's not Christmas yet. And that's the case with what's going to happen in John 6. So we'll look a little bit about what's going on here. But he was in Galilee and doing ministry in Galilee. He had been in Jerusalem before that, yes. What did you say? I think, but I'm not. Early in the book. Yeah. Well, we're still early. Earlier. So when chapter 6 begins, he's no longer in Jerusalem. He's in Galilee. He's by the Sea of Galilee. The feeding of the 5,000 took place near the Sea of Galilee. We'll talk about that more. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell a number of things that Jesus did, possibly between. He traveled around Galilee. He healed a man with a withered hand again on the Sabbath, once again causing controversy. He taught great crowds of people from a boat on the Sea of Galilee. He set apart the 12 to be his closest disciples. And then he sent them out in Galilee to preach good news. He delivered the Sermon on the Mount, returned to Capernaum, healed the centurion servant. And then this is telling you all the places. He crosses over to the other side of the lake and of the Sea of Galilee, and he heals the demoniac. I don't know, you probably never heard that word before. Demon-possessed man called Legion, and he begged the demons begged to not be sent away to go into the pigs. They go to the pigs. Interesting thing here, just a little foreshadow. So that is Gentile territory. And this demoniac was a Gentile, and he came to faith. And when Jesus leaves, he begs Jesus to go with him. He's become a follower of Christ. And he begs Jesus. And Jesus says, stay here and tell everyone in your family what I've done for you. And it kind of is weird. Like, why wouldn't Jesus want him to come with him? And I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is the next time Jesus was there, people came running. Because the demoniac, former did exactly what Jesus told him to do. That is such a beautiful picture of witnessing God and how it is so then, when the disciples come back from their preaching, they let Jesus know that John the Baptist has been executed, and so upon hearing the news, he realizes that both he and his disciples need some rest, and they take a time of rest. So at this point, that's at this point that we read after this. So let's talk about the feeding. That's just out of. I'm going to read this, and then we'll read the later. After this, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias, and a large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing on the sick. When Jesus went up on a mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. So let's talk a little bit about just in general about the feeding of the 5,000, and talk about the importance of the miracle. Why is it important? And there are three reasons, at least, why this is one of Christ's most memorable miracles and an important one. The first one is the number of people, the sheer number of people. It was performed before 5,000, and as Aaron mentioned, maybe more like 10 or 15,000 people. So it wasn't just, a lame man with a few people around the pool. And this is, so part of what makes it important is the number of people who witnessed. And then secondly, it was a miracle of creation. He wasn't taking something that was broken and fixing it. He was taking nothing and making something out of it, right? Taking a few fish and a few loaves and creating more of those. And I don't think he was creating more of those out of those. I think he was creating the rest out of nothing. Yes. And only God can do that. What did God create the universe out of? Nothing. And that's, by the way, you'll find out next year that's what the science and the math and the philosophy say as well. That the universe exploded out of nothing. It reads just like Genesis. Yes.
Why in this chapter when it says men, it means just the men. But then in other parts of the Bible when it says men, it means
Usually, unless it's saying like there was a cohort and there were 50 men who came, but when it talks about man or men, it means people. And here's the thing: in the original Greek, in the Greek, there's a word that means people, but we don't have. That when we call it men, we're meaning people, using them. The Greek has a word that means men and women. And so, and I suppose I could say people, but there are other places where it really means men, that women weren't. So, our language is pretty limited compared to other languages. We have one word for love, and that can mean I love Jesus. It can mean I love potatoes, and it's the same word, right? And there's like 4 or 5 different in the Greek, 4 or 5 different words for love. So, yeah, I don't know who made up English, but it's not the most inventive language ever devised. So it was a miracle of creation. And then finally, it's a picture of Christ. What did Jesus call himself? I am the bread of life. I am the bread of life. And so it's a picture of who he is. And it was a foreshadowing of him telling his disciples that he was the bread of life. And he talked at the Last Supper about, this is my body broken for you. He took the bread and said, this is my body. So it's a picture of who Christ is and a picture of what he provides for us as well. So then let's talk about the occasion of the miracle, and I'm going to read that again. After this, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing on the sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. So now we need to go back this way. So it was during a time of rest for Jesus. He was taking a bit of a rest. And so now it's going to give you some lessons from Christ's vacation. This is not the most important thing that they could say. And if there's something about this on your final, I'm sorry. Because this just isn't, I don't know if this is germane to anything. But the first one is very profound. There's nothing wrong with Christian workers taking a rest. I'm so happy to hear that. I'll stop working all the time, 24/7. So we need both productivity and rest. And too much of either one is unhealthy, really. If all you're going to do is sit around and play video games or lie around in bed all day, then get up and do something. But also, and I'm preaching to the choir. But when we are all work, and we don't get rest, that's unhealthy as well. So we need both productivity and rest, and so did Jesus need that as well. And then even while resting from earthly pressure, remain ready to serve the Lord. Yeah, I mean, if you're on vacation and something happens that you get to, minister to someone, do it. It's important. And then be willing to have your vacation end sooner than planned. When I was in the 3rd grade, I believe, I was younger than that. I was in the 2nd grade, I think. Maybe it was in the 2nd or 3rd grade. Anyway, we went to the World Expo, the World's Fair in Montreal, in Canada. And it was so packed. And at one point, we lost my little sister Georgianne, who, if I was 7, then I would have been 7. She would have been 4. And my mom freaked out, which was, the appropriate thing to do. And she said, "We're leaving. We're not staying here. There's too many people." So we started to drive home. And we came to this place called Upper Jane, New York. Little teeny tiny little, had a church, hang on. And we stopped there at the Land of Make-Believe, and that ended up being our vacation spot ever since, or after that. Because it was so relaxing, it was so beautiful, and we were willing to stop our vacation for that. So, yeah, willing to do that.